giving this created creature, the Virgin Mary, the title of Theotokos. And the word Theotokos means the mother of God. They amalgamated this created creature, the Virgin Mary, with this title Theotokos, with this created creature, Serapis, now known today as Jesus the Christ. And the Melkite Coptic African Egyptians, at that point of amalgamation, said that this image that we know today as Jesus Christ, then known as Serapis, is now the Messiah, A-S. And in Coptic spoken Greek, Messiah means Christos, or today in English, the Christ. So you do not get a Christ prior to the Council of Ephesus in 431 ABCE, and that's in my book. You do not get Christianity as a religion prior to the Council of Chalcedon, 451. That's in my book. Also, you do not get a Christian church. The world's first Christian church was built in Constantinople, Turkey, by Justinian I and his wife Theodora. In the year of 532 ACE, finished 5 years later, 537 ACE. Okay? So during the time of Constantine, or prior to the Council of Ephesus, which was in the 5th century, you have no Christ. Prior to the 5th century, the Council of Chalcedon, 451, you have no Christianity. Prior to the 6th century, you have no Christian church until the Hagia Sophia was created. You see? So all what I have just told you dispel any premise by anybody. I don't care who you are, of any race, creed, or color, how many books you have studied, how many universities you went to. That's dispelled the myth that there was a Christ, Christianity, and a Christian church during the time or before the time of Constantine.
We're getting that now. I love it. Now, we're already back. We got rid of Hebrewism, Judaism, Christianity. But what were they worshiping, practicing before that period?
Who?
With the Africans, and then when the Romans came in. Talk to me a little bit about that. The temples in Egypt, the Egyptians, the ancient Egyptians, what were they practicing? And then what was the continuity of that up until this period when the creation of Jesus, and why was that necessary to create this Jesus?
Okay. That's a twofold question.
Yes.
Let's go back during the time of antiquity. The word antiquity means ancient times.
Yes.
There was no religion, no place on planet Earth.
All right.
You have to realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Going back into Africa, you will find the Africans living in the continent of Africa not having a religion, but they had a spiritual way of life that included the ancient Egyptians also. They paid homage to their ancestors. They paid homage to nature. They knew the laws, the cosmic laws of the universe, and they lived their lives according to these various laws of the universe. Okay, this is just a short overview. Then here come the first known European in the continent of Africa, in Egypt, known to us today as Alexander the Greek. Mm-hmm. At that point, after that, those Greeks came into Egypt and in other parts of Africa. After Alexander came in, then other Europeans out of the Slavic areas of Europe, Bulgaria, Yugoslavia, Albania, Hungary, etc., came into the continent of Africa. Okay, they are known in history as the Parthians, etc., etc. And then you have an influx of Europeans coming out of the southern areas of Russia into Iran, Iraq, etc., etc. Now, mind you, that was no religion now, until the Europeans came in there and began to try to get the ancient Egyptians to make them into gods where they, the ancient Egyptians, could worship them. So in my book, I'm explaining that. That's how religion first began on planet Earth. After the Europeans, after Alexander the Greek and the other Europeans coming thereafter, and the Ptolemies, who ruled Egypt after the death of Alexander, who died in 323, the Ptolemies took over the rule of Egypt. And from the Ptolemy rule of Egypt, the man-made creation of religion began at that point. In my book, I walk you through it, The Historical Origin of Christianity. And that was the second question that you had that was attached to this question. What was the second part?
Well, I wanted to know how then that Christianity wedded itself to the ancient traditional worship of the Africans, and was there any carryover? Was there anything within that ancient worship that became wedded to the new Christianity, the new way of worship that the Romans concocted, forced upon the people at that time? And then why did they cut off the old religion and begin this new religion?
Well, again, Clemson, that was no old religion.
Well, spiritual, the spirituality. Okay.
There was no old religion.
Right.
So take religion out.
Okay.
Always remember, man created religion.
Yes, correct.
Okay. The religions of the three major Western religions, the base foundation of the three major Western religions, Christianity, Mohammedanism/Islam, and Judaism, the base foundation of that is ancient Egypt. They have used the civilization and the culture of the ancient Egyptians to create these various religions. In fact, it was the Coptic Egyptians who created Christianity. It was the Coptic Egyptians who created that image that we know today as Jesus the Christ. It was the Coptic Egyptians who taught the Europeans from the Hagia Sophia, the world's first Christian church and the world's first university for Europeans. See? No one is telling you that. That was the world's first university for Europeans, and the teaching staff or the faculty of the Hagia Sophia were comprised of Africans. They were the teachers of the Europeans.
And what were they teaching them?
They taught them a variety of subjects: art, writing, medicine, husbandry, building. The whole thing that we call civilization today was taught there in the Hagia Sophia. Only that one institution. That was the world's first Christian church and the world's first university for Europeans. You see? But in order for that to continue, you would have to have more than just that one institution. So that's the reason why in the 15th century, okay, almost 1,000 years after the Hagia Sophia was created and built by Justinian and his wife Theodora in 532, finished in 537, you come upon a era in history, in European history, that's called the European Renaissance, or the Renaissance of Europe, which the first Renaissance was in the 15th century, and that was of art and crafts. Okay? And then the second Renaissance was a literary Renaissance that was done in the 16th century. And I explained that in my early comments about the Europeans prior to this, me speaking now.
Now I just want to, and I'm moving rapidly, but I want to deal with how the Romans crushed the existing spirituality of the indigenous Africans, the indigenous ancient Egyptians. What was the process? I've heard that they raided temples, killed priests, and so forth, but explain how and why it was necessary to totally wipe out the spirituality, the worship, the way that they carried on life, practiced their spirituality.